Good morning to August Assembly. Person who reads is the person who leads. Earlier, the administrators fixing the destiny of mankind, then came manager. But now, management is like old rocks and leadership is the order of the day. Readers were, are, and shall make good leaders. In the pandemic, readership has entertained many souls trapped in houses to save themselves from pandemic. Let's understand the relevance and value of reading and copyright aspects of the books today. That is World Book and Copyright Day. We know reading is the sine qua non of leadership. At the outset, let me invite all of you to this virtual assembly to throw beams of floodlight on the said knowledge, giving aspects of protection of intellectual property rights of owners of literary genres. At the first place, let me request our esteemed principal ma'am, Mrs. Ipsita Das, to deliver a keynote come welcome address to give the proceedings our desired direction. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Ranjita ma'am. A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. So good morning, everyone. My warm, sincere regards to the chief guest of the day, Professor Prafulla Kumar Mohanty, the winner of the prestigious Kendra Sahitya Akademi Award. Sir, I welcome you on this virtual platform of DAV Public School, Unit 8, Bhubaneswar. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
At the same time, I extend a warm, cordial welcome to my colleagues and my beloved students, those who are with us at this moment and those who will be joining with us a short while from now. Welcome everyone to the virtual celebration of World Book Day and Copyright Day. Yes, this very day, 23rd of April, is celebrated across the globe as the World Book Day. This very day of 23rd of April, 1616, has seen the death of a few famous literary figures of the world, including Shakespeare. This very day, 23rd of April, marks the occasion of birth and death anniversary of many more famous literary figures as well. So it has been rightly decided by UNESCO to celebrate this day as the World Book Day and Copyright Day. While celebrating this festival, the very word that comes to my mind is reading. My dear children, those who are with us, remember one thing. Reading is an habit that gives you, that exposes you to many other good qualities which are really precious in one's life. We people basically read to learn something new, to acquire some information, but in addition to that, reading also makes you recreate, enjoy, and at times we read to relax, to make ourselves stress-free. That is the miraculous power that is hidden between reading. One thing that you may think at this point of time, you people read your curriculum, your textbooks. to write the examinations from time to time, to get a score that is printed in black and white in the report cards. But apart from that, let us not forget, it is to recognize and promote the benefit and reading habits from which this very celebration has been originated. So my dear children, once you develop this habit, once you take a grip of this habit, you are able to achieve many more things in your life.
Hello.
So let us
हाँ.
realize that through the celebration of this virtual event, that will amidst the threats of the pandemic, while all of us, we are away from the school campus, particularly my dear children, you have been off from the school campus right from March 2020. It's more than a year's time. So if only thing that could keep your spirits high, it was reading. Every time that we get an opportunity, we encourage you to read newspapers, we encourage you to read storybooks, novels, short stories, autobiographies, biographies. Not just to put it on your examination papers, but to learn some life lessons. So my dear children, the essence of celebrating this very World Book Day is to make you aware, cautious about why to read and how to read. And once you develop this habit, your life is going to be changed and you can achieve many more things which are required to be a good human being. So as I welcome the chief speaker of the day amidst us, who has been kind enough to spare his time to join this virtual celebration and to enlighten all of us on this very occasion, I, on behalf of all the students, teachers, and the school, would like to convey my sincere gratitude to Professor Mohanty, and we look forward to your inspiring words in moments from now. Dear children, just remember, once you acquire the habit of reading, you construct for yourself a shelter that would protect you from all miseries of your life. So let us all join hands together and construct a protective shelter for all of us by imbibing the reading habits. Once again, my warm, sincere welcome and wishes to each one of you on the occasion of World Book Day and Copyright Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for your influential and inspirational note to the students. I'm profusely overjoyed to take the opportunity to introduce our chief guest of the day. He is none other than Professor Prafulla Kumar Mohanty, a teacher, scholar, and literary critic. He has won the prestigious Central Sahitya Academy Award 2004 from Odisha for his book Satatira Sesa Ankare, Bharatiya Samskruti and Bhagavad Gita. He is a retired English professor from Ravenshaw College, Cuttack. He writes both Odia and English languages. An humble request to the distinguished chief guest, prestigious Sahitya Academy awardee, to motivate the students with his inspirational words. Sir, please.
Good morning, Madam Principal, fellow teachers, and my grandchildren who are on the threshold of life to enter into the vast and various world outside. I congratulate you on your celebrating this particular day, 23rd of April, 2021, as the book day and the copyright day. Those who selected this particular day perhaps had one thing in their mind. William Shakespeare, in my understanding of life and the world of books, indisputably is the only writer who could give us the entire world to us in 37 volumes and of drama and 2 great epical poems. To highlight the importance of this particular man, let me make a reference to the year 2000. In England, there was a kind of opinion survey as to who was the greatest Briton or the greatest Englishman, the second and the third also. Do you know, the people of England voted number 1, William Shakespeare, number 2, Sir Winston Churchill, number 3, Caxton, the printing press. So it means even the nation felt that there is no greater human being ever born on the English soil than William Shakespeare. And strangely, maybe it may be a coincidence, but the wheel of time had come full circle for this man. He was born on 23rd April 1564, and he died on 23rd April 1616. You may say, in my beginning is my end, and the end and the beginning are one in the case of Shakespeare. Now, why do you celebrate this day? Not just to commemorate the greatest bard of mankind, but there is another significance. When you talk about books, in my view, there is only one book written by God or given to us by God. That is your nature. And all the books which you have written, which have filled the Library of Congress and the national libraries all over the world, are a few leaves of that book. When we quest for knowledge, there is a story behind that quest also. Man need not have or should not have invented language, although that is the greatest invention of man. Why did he invent language? Because he must understand. What is this canopy overhead? The luminosities are there, and everything on the ground is dark. What is this? That the day comes when sunlight appears, and when the sun disappears, well, the night comes. And what is this rhythm of light and shade? What is this? Man is born and he dies. What is the mystery? Why should he die? If he is to die, then why should he come? Why should there be any birth only to commemorate a death? Well, after some time. All these questions definitely perturbed men at the beginning. And so they invented language and started reading the mountains, the sky, the sun, the moon. That's what we are doing even today. And the other aspect of it is knowledge which we need for practical use. Because without the practical use of knowledge, we cannot survive as a nation. We cannot survive even as a citizen. So the citizen must have primal understanding of the social reality, which is a part of the larger natural reality. Perhaps all of you are familiar with those lines. What kind of knowledge are we using today? I think Eliot wrote, "Where is that wisdom we have lost in knowledge?" Or the beginning is, "Where is that life we have lost in living?" And most of us today we here are discussing only the living part of reality, not life. And we think that is something abstract. No, it is not abstract. It is very much concrete. But we are bothered more about living than life. So where is that life we have lost in living? Where is that wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is that knowledge we have lost in information? Today, we live in a world of information only. Your Google, Apple, and Microsoft, and all those, you may say, fundamental organizations which have given the www, the World Wide Net to us, and we get only information. And we use that information as knowledge. When we say that we live in a knowledge society, and the UGC declares that we are going to create a knowledge society, well, that knowledge simply pertains to information, not beyond that. That's why the Englishman said, to know is to do. It means knowledge is power. Through that power, we do things. Why should we do things? We do things for our own benefit. We must produce more. If we don't produce, what can we eat? We must organize ourselves. So different books were written. But the Indians believed, Savidya ya vimukta. So it is not freedom. That mukti does not mean freedom. Vidya liberates us. Liberates us from what? From this living part of reality. What we call today living, the social realities, the organizations which you have created, the institutions which you have created, the books which we are writing. Well, all those things are a part of our social life, social reality. We have to survive despite corona, despite SARS, despite plague, despite everything. And how to fight that? So you must have some kind of knowledge. That may be information, but that kind of knowledge we must have. So for our survival, we need knowledge. The books which we read, we call management. The other day, I was addressing an audience about Matrubhasha, that is your mother tongue. And the English, English is the other tongue, and your own language is your mother tongue. Now, what is that mother tongue? I said, your Odia is the language of slaves. So naturally, they looked at me glaringly with baleful eyes. I said, no, don't be shocked. I'm also an Odia. It's a language of slaves because we were all the time ruled by other powers. And that's why we do not have the language of administration. We do not have the language of judiciary. We do not have the language of law. And we are in trouble today. We are not able to translate a single line like the letter has been issued. I challenge anyone sitting in the present audience or anywhere else in the world, translate that into Odia. you don't have it, because we were never our own masters. We never managed reality. Management of reality has a different kind of language, and that language creates different books. And then those who are managed by those managers, they have their own language. The language of, say, give us more food. And the man who gives you more food, well, he has a different kind of language. So we have to distinguish between these kinds of books. When I address the management students, what is this management? And there is something called communication in management. What is that? Communication, I understand that to understand what is not spoken. When somebody tells me, no, you are seeing too many films, don't watch films. I have to understand that this man is perhaps not interested in films because he does not understand the filmic reality, the filmic language, and also the script. Because the film is also a work of art. And any work of art tries to explain a part of your total reality, the life beyond living. So since we are too much engrossed in our living, the books which we have, they give us one kind of living reality. And what is the book? Not the other book. Any book. I have picked up a book from my desk. A book has a smell. A book has a touch. And the book has a kind of olfactory sensation, tactile sensation, and also visual sensation. And when you keep it on your chest, you get a sense of elevation. And so that leads to love for a book. And when you love a book, you see the world through that book. That is the meaning of writing. A man who gives you, for example, the epics, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, or the Gilgamesh, and the Greek epics, all those in your Iliad, Odyssey, in all those things, what did you see? You saw the world, the ultimate reality, the ultimately real, the shadow of God, you may say, or the created universe of God, and how to manage our lives in the context of the ultimate reality. So books gave us that kind of knowledge. But when you read a book like this, Noam Chomsky tells us the consequences of capitalism. Well, we now follow capitalism almost everywhere in the world except China, and even China, it is partly capitalistic. So in this system, you have an economic system, you have a political system, you have a judicial system. And in these systems, you have different kinds of books. And students who wait for an examination to go to another class or to enter the larger arena of life after passing an examination, for them, knowledge is something different. So when we talk about books, well, books open our eyes, true, but open our eyes to what? To a limited part of our reality. A lawyer looks at the world from his own perspective, the moral law and the legal system. The moral law is integrated into the legal system, and ultimately the law is to be interpreted. Who will interpret that? There is the highest constitutional body, that is the judiciary, the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court must ultimately, well, give a judgment. But is it final? No human judgment is ever final. we know it. That's why we challenge all judgments. Why do we challenge? Because life cannot be viewed as a definable reality. Because of the indefinable nature of human reality, all our books give us only access to a limited part of reality. Those who are in the management, for them, the moral reality perhaps does not matter. To give you a concrete illustration, in the present context, Corona is raging, and the prediction is, well, in a few days, in 2 weeks, well, the daily Corona figure will be, say, 35 infected, 35 lakhs. Well, it's a very alarming situation. But what are we doing? This is Haryana oxygen. And this Haryana oxygen cannot go to Delhi. And people have started arguing. Well, in Delhi, you don't have any oxygen plant. Well, who asked you not to have an oxygen plant after having gone through the 2020 horror? It's a very natural question. So now, what will the Supreme Court do? When you go to a Supreme Court, go to the Supreme Court. So knowledge has its own limitations. We are using knowledge as in a partisan fashion. In a partisan fashion, from a limited perspective of life. But knowledge is important. The other aspect is no single human being can embrace the entire province of human knowledge. It is not possible. So a man, a single individual, can perceive a limited part of his reality through the evocation which he selects, the vocation to which he enters, and the attitude which he develops, and the skill which he develops. With that kind of skill, he carves out his own reality. And to attain that skill, we must go through books. We must have knowledge. So we must have this kind of understanding of books. When you read books on capitalism, there are other arguments. No, capitalism is a bad system of economy. There are other arguments. Socialism has failed. Communism has failed, but capitalism is not succeeding. We had another argument, globalization. People thought globalization was the panacea for all our economic ills. But it was discovered that globalization is not necessarily the panacea, because each individual country has her own problems specific to that country. And you cannot have a generalized system imposed on a country which has certain specific problems. And because of that, a book gives us pleasure, fine. It gives us a kind of thrill, okay. And it also leads us in a particular way, but that particular way is not necessarily the entire world. So we are all operating in our limited spheres. When I teach, you are all teachers and there are students. When a teacher goes, he or she teaches, say, a poem, the solitary reaper. That's, I think, in the syllabus. Now, solitary reaper, it was Wordsworth's solitary reaper, not my solitary reaper. And through Wordsworth's solitary reaper, I enter into the mind of Wordsworth, the romantic poet, who saw a scene, a young maiden, a solitary lass, alone, sings. What is the language? He doesn't understand. So how can we? We don't understand the language. We understand the language of only Wordsworth. So the solitary reaper sings, perhaps of battles long ago, perhaps of some sorrow, because it was a lonely anthem, expressing the agony, suppressed agony of that solitary girl. So when we complete the poem or listen to the poem or read the poem ourselves, we have only a glimpse of Wordsworth's reality, which he created. Wordsworth created reality or experienced reality, which was interpreted through language for us. I know I'm lifting up the subject to a higher level because for the students of a high school, these things are not necessarily important, but these things are also important. When you read your textbooks, you should know that there are books and textbooks. Textbooks are testing you with a particular standard that which a student must have. When you enter into the larger frame of human reality, you must be equipped with certain fortifications. And that fortification comes only with knowledge. And how can that knowledge help you? Well, you are an engineer, a mechanical engineer, or you are an engineer for roads and buildings. So you are trying to help the society by doing a particular kind of work. So the books which you read, all those books equip you with the skills of building roads. And then there are other books. Roads to what? Some person may ask. Roads to what? Not to human hearts, not to enemy territories, but to your fellow men, so that they can come and go without much difficulty. So there will be commerce, there will be business, and there will be a different kind of transport system. So this is the limited reality within which a roads and buildings engineer operates. I think I have given you a clear idea of what these books give us. Now, the second aspect is when you ask yourself, who am I? Why am I? What am I doing here? I will come here and I will die one day. Is there no tomorrow for me? Then religion comes. And the religious teachers give you different kinds of books. They say life is pain. There is only horror. You have sickness, disease, and all those things. And for that you have the doctors. The doctors try to give you antidotes. They have their books. But ultimately, when you come to the philosophical issues, well, what is the ultimate reality? If it is death for me, there is nothing called real. So the Hindus created the idea of Punarjanma. But there were also Hindus who asked the question, Javad jivet sukham jivet, runam krutva bhutam pivet, bhasmibhutasya bhutasya punaragamanam kutaha. That is, as long as you live, go on living, even borrowing money from others and drink ghee, because at that time when they wrote ghee and butter, they were the most important things. And what you call amruta, that amruta is nothing but butter. The research has proved that, because that was the best kind of food available during the early years of agrarian civilization. And since all these books were written at that time, so they refer to amruta. And now when you think in our present context, well, what is butter? There are more important, more tastier things. And so you have other knowledge, other books, how to prepare your Cadbury's, chocolates, how to prepare, and the modern generation, including my own grandchildren, well, pizza is more important for them than your palav. So language changes, knowledge changes. needs become different. So you must be conscious of that. Now, let me come back to the idea of rebirth. There are many people in India and also elsewhere in the world who believe in rebirth. The Christians and the Abrahamic religions, they don't believe in rebirth. They believe that there will be a doomsday, a day of judgment, and your Almighty will come and weigh your deeds and will give you final seat in heaven somewhere. Okay. We believe in the karma theory. That is, you have to come here to do and work, to work only. Life means activity. Life means work. And work needs knowledge. Knowledge comes from books. But that knowledge is not necessarily the final knowledge. So what is that final knowledge? The final knowledge is that which transports you beyond the living aspects of life. That is, I'm a soul, I have also a self. My self is interested in doing some work, earning some money, and being of some help to the society at large, and raising a family. And for all that, you need one kind of knowledge, and there are billion books, legend books. And the other part is, what about my soul? If I have a soul, there are many who didn't believe in souls also. For example, the Mill, father and son, James and Stuart, father and son, they didn't believe in a God. They said, oh God, if you exist, take my soul if I have a soul, and take my soul if you have the capacity to take my soul. So you enter into a world of mystery. With our half perceptions, that mystery is lived on a different plane. Somebody goes to the temple, there is no God in the temple. I tell you, my grandchildren, there is no God in the temple. You are your God. Aham Brahmasmi. And that was the idea given to us. And for that, you need different books, different kinds of knowledge. I am not going to recommend what books we should read. No, this is not the time for reading those books. Because at each stage of your life, children, they must read certain books to understand what the rhythms of life, of reality, the rhythms of nature, the rhythms of movement, day and night. And they must be introduced to beauty. They must be introduced to, say, sweetness and music, harmony, all those things. And then when you come to the high school stage, you must know what? Mathematics, your physics. Physics is the physical world. Mathematics is the calculations which have already built into the system of the entire universe. And you are learning bits and parts of it. And gradually you will move ahead, go to the higher levels. You will get your PhD degree and DLED degree in mathematics, and then go for further research. Because through mathematics, you will reach the ultimate reality. Through physics, you will reach the ultimate reality. In physics also, when you read Einstein or say even your the theory of relativity, forget. You come to the theory of gravitation. Because those theories have not been negated. Those theories are still in vogue, and we know we must have that kind of knowledge. So gradually we are moving towards that. Some 10 years ago, there was Halla. There is something called God particle. And that God particle idea, many books were written on that God particle. I have one, well, before me, God particle. But it was all hoax. So those books also will be required by the human being only when he realizes that, yes, I have raised a family. My children are well settled. I had a nice job. I get a nice pencil. I don't need anything more to live. So I must go beyond that. So that knowledge will be different and you will require different kinds of books. I have written 30 books in English and Odia, but I'm still writing because I don't know what I'm writing for. But students must have a finite view. I have introduced to you the infinity of knowledge, but you must have a finite view of knowledge because you are aiming to get a job. Because without a job, so in my childhood, my mother used to taught me saying, "Vidya ki karjam jadirasti chakri." What is the meaning of your knowledge if you don't have a job? Because we are moving towards a job because we must earn to live in this world. What kind of living? To keep the body fit, to keep the body full of energy because food gives you energy, energy leads you to work, and you must work. And for that, you must have some money because only through money you earn or you get the things which you need for your survival. So for that you are now reading. Somebody wants to be an engineer, somebody wants to be a doctor, somebody has the ambition to become an say administrative officer, like that. Or today you have artificial intelligence and other things. Many branches of knowledge are opening up nowadays. But these are all finite requirements of knowledge. You are not going to move towards the infinity of knowledge, which we can never attain. I must tell you, my dear young friends, I have addressed you as my grandchildren. Yes, you are. I am at that age. Well, life is very difficult. At every stage, you need knowledge. And books will not give you knowledge all the time. Books will lead you to knowledge. Your own perceptions will reveal your reality. I'll give you one idea. There is a person whose father died in the war. He was killed by the German soldiers. He is a French individual. He wants to take revenge. The Germans have killed my father. I have to kill some Germans. Then he found that his mother is in the hospital bed, almost dying. What should he do? He is trained as a military man. He would like to go to the war to fight the enemy and kill the enemy because his father has been a victim. What should he do? Now, this is the problem. This problem cannot be solved by your books because you have a moral dimension of your own soul. You have a physical dimension of yourself, and you have also an aesthetic dimension. You love beauty, you love grace, you love music, you love all the good things of life, even fashions. I am in love with everything that is good and beautiful. Everything in the world. There is no limit. Life is a no limit game. And for that also, you must have other kinds of knowledge, and there are books. So you have to select your priorities. Now, I think there was a reference to intellectual property. You say copyright day. Well, that is, I think, a very minor issue. In every book, you will find copyright reserved by somebody. But that copyright, although I am an author, I get royalty. But the point I'm making is, well, please try to understand in the proper perspective. The point I'm making is, what copyright? Copyright, for example, technical knowledge, a new kind of missile, which will, one missile, which is invisible, and it will destroy the whole of China. Supposing somebody gives us that kind of missile. Well, he will be like God. He will be worshipped like God. An invisible missile. I hope you get my point. So we are moving towards that. So the ordinary missile, there you have also some kind of copyright. That is, this is an American missile. We don't know what are the components and how it is fixed. But even if you keep it as a copyright, there are other people in other countries who will do research day and night. They will find it out. The cryogenic engine, for example, India did not have any cryogenic engine. And so you had to depend on Russia. We have our own reactors, atomic reactors, but Indians don't trust their own products. So we need the Russian reactor or the American reactor. So the books which are written on those technical things must have copyright because it will be borrowed or stolen by others. But these books, although there is copyright, it need not be stolen. Another man may reach the same conclusions which you have reached in another way. You have gone through a particular route. For example, if you ask anyone, what is happiness? One day I was asked, do you know what was my answer? You will all laugh. I said, good digestion and bad memory. So they looked at me, well, what do you mean? I said, yes, good digestion and bad memory. If your digestion is proper, you will have sound sleep, it will be a sound body. And if you don't remember things, there is no pain. We suffer because of our memories. Well, that man had told me that, said that kind of thing. He had trolled me. He had passed a comment on me. If you don't remember that, there is no suffering. So I will define happiness like that. If you asked Omar Khan, he will say, what is that? A jug of wine, a book of verse, and thou besides me singing in the wilderness, and the wilderness is paradise now. Unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday, why fret about them if today be sweet? This is also knowledge. This is also knowledge of the highest kind. Unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday, why fret about them if today be sweet? But how can your today be sweet? Is it only by reading poetry and drinking wine and loving a beautiful woman? No, we can't accept that. Nothing is acceptable to mankind because the human mind is so vast that it can contain all multitudes. That is the idea I'm leading you to, because knowledge, whatever be its form, whatever books you read, it is all limited knowledge, finite knowledge. We are dealing with finites. The infinite is beyond us. We can't reach that infinite. And that's why I started with that statement that the world is a book. Each human being is trying to read that book in his or her own way. And an engineer thinks, yes, I have found out this is the world. There must be perfect transport system and thereby a different kind of communication. That is finite. Somebody may think, no, there must be perfect discipline. What is the meaning of discipline? There must be peace. What is the meaning of peace? The peace of the grave or the peace of the living? If you want the peace of the grave, nothing grows, nothing stirs, nothing moves. But the peace of the living is always disturbing. Look at the Kisans who are on the warpath for the last four and odd months. Do they not realize that the country is passing through one of its greatest challenges. For a long time, you had the Chinese army, 50,000 plus, sitting at our borders. And Corona. But for them, these things are not important. They may be carriers. Did they not read a single book in their lives? Those who are supporting them, the political parties, have they not read a single book in their lives? Which book in the world tells you to ruin your system, which has given you identity? The Indian system that has given us our identities, but by our action, we are going to ruin that very system. Now, what is the meaning of knowledge? So, knowledge must elevate us, must give us some kind of udarata, a magnanimous mind, a liberal temper, and you must be in a position to say, pardon is the word to all. Who is my enemy? I have no enemy. My dear friends and my dear teachers, well, if I ask you, who is my enemy? When I sit at the Ladakh front or stand at the Ladakh front with a gun in my hand and I see the Chinese soldiers on the other side, are they my enemies? They are not my enemies. They are Chinese patriots. If I'm an Indian patriot standing on this side of the border, on the other side, you have Chinese patriots. So this, life is very complex. And knowledge will help us in, say, in unknotting the Gordian knot. You are trying to ease that knot, but no, another knot will be created. That's how we live. That's why any knowledge system cannot be complete, but it will be, you may say, a workable system in which we operate. When the lantern was there and there was no electricity, there was life, there was poetry, there was dance, and there was also business and commerce. And now we have we say goodbye lantern, and we have electricity. So 24/7 we can work, we can see the world through this light. But that electricity has become our bane now because it has different kinds of radiations which ruins the system, the body. So we must have green energy. How can green energy come? Read books, do research. And the green energy may come from the solar energy, the solar system. And once we are acquainted with the solar system, there may be another difficulty we don't know, because we can't predict our tomorrows. Our tomorrows are always throwing up fresh challenges. We live in our today, thinking of our yesterdays, our past, and we build our future, try to build our future, plan for our future today. And for this today, these books will give us knowledge, a working system, so that we can operate. A doctor, the heart surgery. 20 years ago, the heart surgery was a very difficult proposition. And today, well, I have gone through bypass. I know it is not a difficult proposition at all. And then after 20 years, there will be another system that wants some light or something, and you will be allowed to sleep on a bed, and the light will be focused on your chest, and the entire system will be properly set. Maybe, because this is how we operate in human reality. And that's why, my dear friends, both young and not so young, books are important. Books are windows which open up to your reality, but that is a limited reality. One day I said, in our families, in my family also, there are many engineers and they are all software engineers. And one day I told a bhanja of mine, a nephew, I said, what are you? You are a 2x2 engineer. He said, what do you mean by 2x2? I said, yes, you have only a 2x2 space in which you operate. Your entire life is spent. You sit before a computer. And what are you doing? You are simply typing out. You haven't seen the larger reality outside. You have seen only a virtual reality, as I am doing now. I don't know whom I am addressing. I don't see the faces clearly. It's a virtual reality. So that I am a ghost for you, and you are also non-existent human beings in a digital shadow. This is the world in which you have to live. So, in conclusion, I should say, what I have said is not necessarily for the younger generation, but the younger generation must also be aware that this is what we are doing. We are learning certain things which will help us. Knowledge is power. This knowledge will empower us, and this empowerment will lead us to some kind of assured life. And for that, we are reading. We are reading books. So books are very important. Libraries are very important for us. The greatest things of life. You know, this realization is not a present day realization. Even Cleopatra, when Caesar's shells were falling on the Alexandrian library, the library in Alexandria, Cleopatra sent a messenger, take away the whole of Egypt, but save that library, because that contains everything of the past centuries. So Caesar stopped, but half of the library was burned. Now, we have learned things. We have learned things in our own way. You may be the Prime Minister of this country or the President of America, but you will look at your world through the eyes of your own self. An American will never think that I am a human being, I am a man of the world. No, as the people in Haryana thought, I am simply a Haryanvi and my oxygen should not go to Delhi. This thing will come. And when the shortage is acute, what will happen? We will kill each other. We will kill each other for survival. Because at that time, nothing will matter. I'll give you something lighter. An octogenarian, couple wanted to celebrate their 65th honeymoon. They went to a hotel, very old man, and the old man told his wife, look here, we two are the best of mankind, and I am slightly better than you. I hope you get the point. Huh? So you always live for yourselves. In the ultimate analysis, when there will be a challenge, you will like to save yourself. Let the world go to hell. Let me be saved. And for that, you may kill. If there will be a famine, what will happen? Loot, murder, all those things. So, to avoid those things, to give the human being some semblance of importance, that the man is important. Sunoho manush bhai, savar upare manush satya taru upare nai. Man is the ultimate measure of things. Man is the ultimate measure of things. This particular idea, man is the ultimate measure of things. This idea comes only from our knowledge. to save the chaos which may come in our lives, to live an orderly human existence, to live in an orderly society, to live a well-coordinated life in a well-coordinated society. And for that, knowledge is important. Knowledge comes. So at the end, I must thank you for having given me this opportunity to share some of my views with my young friends. And I don't mind taking a few questions. If you have any questions, I'm game for it. Thank you. Thank you. And Halaki, nice to see you.
Thank you, sir, for trying to change the budding mind of our students through your expertise and knowledgeable words. Really, what you said, knowledge is power. And you have taken us from infinite knowledge to finite knowledge to infinite knowledge. That's great, sir. Thank you so much. Really, we can exploit the books and copyright to redeem maximum profit and advantage. Thank you so much, sir. Now it's time to felicitate our esteemed chief guest. To honor us prolific writer, we are grateful to you, sir, for gracing the occasion. As a token of respect and appreciation, we would like to offer a few mementos. And our staff are there at your residence, sir, to offer you the mementos, a school magazine, onyx, golden jubilee envelope, mask, and uttariya.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now it's the time of vote of thanks. On behalf of the entire institution, I offer a hearty vote of thanks to Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Prafulla Kumar Mohanty, the Lord of Learned, and Learned of the Lord, for gracing the occasion as such. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I would also like to thank to our esteemed Principal Madam for organizing such virtual celebration on this great day. Thank you, ma'am. At last, but not the least, I'd like to offer cordial vote of thanks to the students, parents, teachers, along with officials, supporting staff, and a very special thanks to the technical organizing team for whose support this celebration, World Book and Copyright Day would not have been successful. Thank you all once again from core of my heart for making this virtual celebration a success. At last, I would like to say to my dear students, a quote, those who read regularly will always have brighter chances to grow as they have deeper thoughts and interesting ideas to share. Thank you all and have a very happy World Book Day to you all. Thank you.